and welcome to another episode of Something Witchy, a Sabrina the Teenage Witch rewatch podcast. I'm Lara Cotter.
And I'm Sky Orchard.
We are still here, believe it or not.
Somehow, some way.
I have an update, possibly a conclusion on the DVD saga.
Let's hear it.
So where we left off, we realized it was the DVDs that were the issue because they were too modern for the DVD player that I had. So my dad purchased a newer DVD player. It works. That means I have to switch out my DVD VHS combo and now have just a DVD player.
You're going to keep the combo just in case, right? For your VHSs?
Yes, it's going to go back to my parents' house where they have an identical DVD VHS combo because I realized none of my VHS tapes are actually at my house. They're all at my parents' house. So I don't really need the full combination here. But should, Disney Plus die or raise their rates to a point where I'm no longer comfortable paying, then I will bring the VHS back and all my old school Disney VHSs.
Nice.
We have concluded this moment. I will say I kind of have gotten used to doing it with the commercials on Pluto. And it's a little bit nice because it gives me a few minutes to catch up on thoughts. So I might actually still just do it on Pluto.
Those 80 to 90 seconds really do come in clutch sometimes.
And there's something about okay, now I have to switch the input and I have to turn on the DVD player and I have to put in the right DVD. It is just a little bit easier to do on a streaming service, even with commercials. That is the end for now. We will see if there's more to this.
To be continued, ?
I'm sure you all were on pins and needles just waiting for this conclusion. So there you go. Okay, our question of the week, which is grosser, pus or guts?
I think pus is grosser.
I think so too. I guess it depends. Are we watching it come out of the body? Are we watching the pus? Are we watching the guts spill out of the body? Or is it just there's some on the ground? There's some intestines on the ground or there's some pus. No, pus is making me gag. It's pus. It's still pus. It doesn't matter.
I do not enjoy those pimple watching videos. I hate it when, I don't know why they're a game, but whatever ads for these quote unquote games come up on my phones.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
I agree. Okay, well, that was the question, and that was quickly answered.
It was. That's our quickest question ever, maybe.
It's definitely the quickest one we've had in a while. So we are in season 2, episode 6. This episode title is Sabrina the Teenage Boy. We again have our 2 descriptions. The TV guide description is Sabrina can't understand boys, and when she senses something between Harvey and Valerie, she turns herself into a boy but ends up dating Libby. That sentence is doing some heavy lifting with the dating Libby part, but okay. Hilda also transforms into a man to try and get rid of Mr. Kraft. The Paramount Plus/Pluto description is the mysteries of men are revealed when Sabrina poses as a boy to figure out how they think. It originally aired October 24th, 1997. We have a new director, new to this season director in Peter Baldwin. He did direct a bunch of stuff last season, including the season finale, Troll Bride. Our writer is Nick Bakay, and then we only have 3 guest stars. Our only guest stars are the 3 boys in the auto shop. Our first one is Ryan Francis. He plays Baines, one of the boys. His credits crack me up. Starting with the more normal credits for Ryan, he did Buffy, Hook, and Blossom. And then some of his more recent work is How I Met Your Murderer.
Fantastic.
Stay Out of the Effing Attic. Shriek If You Know What I Did Last Friday the 13th. I think that one's my favorite one, and I think I kind of want to watch that one.
I don't know. How I Met Your Murderer is calling out to me. Throw them both on the list.
Do you think it will have a better ending than How I Met Your Mother?
Probably.
I have never seen past season 4 of How I Met Your Mother. I may have already told this story on this podcast, but it was I was at work one time and I just had it on in the background and I was watching it all the way through for the first time. And our friend Nikki walked in and she was like, isn't it messed up how Robin and main character's guy whose name I can't remember,
Ted.
How Ted and Robin end up together? And I just stared at her and turned off the show and never watched it again.
As you started to tell it, I was like, oh, did Nikki spoil it? And then you said Nikki's name. I was like, yep.
She sure did. And then when I got mad at her, she was like, Laura, it's been off the air for 15 years. You cannot be mad that I spoiled this for you.
I mean, 15 is a stretch there, but...
It was a while. It had been off the air for a while. Then we have David O'Donnell as Ramage, which is just a wild name. He has been in a bunch of Christmas movies, Days of Our Lives, NCIS, Beverly Hills 90210, and Seventh Heaven. And lastly, we have Walter Jones as Dalrymple. He is uncredited in this episode because I don't think he actually says anything. He is the Black Ranger in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. And then the movie Pop Star, Never Stop, Never Stopping.
Sounds great.
As well as NYPD Blue and Buffy. What are your overall thoughts on this episode, Sky?
I would have to say it is my least favorite episode so far of this season.
Why is it your least favorite?
Part of it is obviously the lens that I'm watching this from as a, queer, gender nonconforming individual. It's partly that lens, and I just don't think it aged well. It's fun to play on stereotypes, and there's a way to do it. It just felt very just stereotype mixed in with homophobia and just, I don't know. It wasn't my favorite.
It was very 90s.
It's an episode. I have some facts to share during it, but yeah, not my favorite.
So you like this less than the Amanda episode?
Think so, or it's a tie. I don't know. I'm sleep deprived, hanging on. I don't know who I am and what I think anymore.
There were definitely some minorly misogynistic moments with Harvey and the boys. Valerie comes off so terribly in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
This is Valerie's worst episode, I think.
Sabrina's not great either.
No, but Valerie in particular just grates on me because there's something about that kind of whiny, passive personality that I will never get along with. I cannot get along with, and I want them as far away from me as possible.
Libby is my favorite of this episode.
I enjoy boy version of Hilda.
Yeah, I mean, I also like the ants.
I do think Hilda's Sunny is hilarious, and the interaction she has with Mr. Kraft, I think, are pretty funny. I enjoy that part of this episode. Okay, should we get into it?
Let's do it.
So in our cold open, Sabrina meets Valerie at the Slicery, where she had to fight a family for that booth. So Sabrina and Valerie say they've been ditched by guys for cars. They wonder what guys talk about when girls aren't around, and we cut to Harvey and friends talking about whether guts or pus is grosser.
The answer being pus, as we established.
Our outfit intro is a bee, and she says, to be or not to be, boo. Sabrina and Valerie join the guys in the garage. They're having trouble getting the car to start, and Valerie and Sabrina offer helpful suggestions.
Valerie's being, are you using the right key? That's messed me up before.
I also think we need to explain for some of our younger audience, back in the day, some cars had 2 keys. They had one for ignition and one for doors. Doors or trunk, one of the two. But so that was actually also an issue back in the day. We don't have that problem anymore because when was the last time you actually stuck a key in your car?
It's been a moment.
I do still have a key start ignition, but I always beep it to unlock. So the guys obviously seem uncomfortable with the 2 girls there and say something like, you don't see too many lowriders in Westbridge, which I would absolutely believe. Pretty quickly, Sabrina and Valerie get bored and leave, promising to never do that again. Back at home, Sabrina asks Salem what boys talk about when girls aren't around, but he refuses to tell her.
Although he will say that boy cats are a bit more political than human boys.
The phone rings and Hilda runs to answer it. It's Mr. Kraft asking her out again. She can't believe it. Last time they went out, she pepper sprayed him. So some consistency there. We are referencing episode 3, so good job. Sabrina joins them in the kitchen and asks Zelda, what's the mystery of men?
Which then Zelda says, let me get my calendar and clear out the next decade. I don't think it's that large of a mystery.
Hilda jumps in and says Sabrina has to be accepted by men to learn how they think. Sabrina needs to turn herself into a boy using a spell. Zelda forbids them to do that, however.
Then Hilda says last time she tried a boy spell, she got lost for 50 years because she refused to ask for directions.
Which I know that's also a stereotype, but boy, is that one that happens a lot.
That was a good one.
I also love Zelda's suit in this scene, that powder blue color, or periwinkle blue with the jacket and the pants that match. It was lovely. I loved it. The minute Zelda leaves, Hilda and Sabrina use the laptop to brew boy brew. Sabrina will still have her own thoughts. She'll just look like she would if she had been born a boy. Sabrina drinks the potion and burps, then turns into a boy. She has the classic 90s boy haircut. Hilda then warns her that the boy brew will only last 2 hours.
So if Hilda was being serious in the previous scene, Zelda was then drinking the brew every 2 hours for 50 years.
We can't expect the logic to continue from scene to scene.
Okay.
I mean, usually we at least get an episode that's consistent. This one is like literally 4 minutes prior.
If that.
Wow. I didn't catch that. Good job, Sky. Sabrina sets a timer on her watch. Zelda comes back through the front door, and Hilda pushes Sabrina down to hide her. Sabrina goes back to her room, where Salem stops her from putting on perfume. He also tells her she needs to pick out a name and vetoes her first choice of Kirby. And the mirror is back to the side of her front door, as are the creepy photos. They were gone last episode. The sandwich cake thing on the desk is gone, and so is the apple, but the egg is still there. Maybe Amanda broke the triangular thing and the apple while she was there, being a nuisance.
Sounds about right. Giant Q-tip. It hit that desk.
Yep. She did knock something off, but I couldn't tell what it was, so. Back at school, Sabrina drinks more boy brew in an empty classroom, but she still has a very feminine leather backpack as Jack. When she comes out, she greets Valerie, who's confused by this boy who seems to know her. Sabrina introduces herself as Jack and gives an excuse about sitting next to each other during an assembly. Sabrina leaves a confused Valerie to go to the auto shop, doing the very classic jumping to touch the ceiling move.
Time for a little history corner.
Yay!
The assembly excuse was that their 2 homerooms combined to learn about the Boer War, which is all about British and Dutch colonialism.
Ooh.
Yay! The term Boer means farmer, is the common name for Afrikaans-speaking white South Africans descended from the Dutch East India Company's original settlers at the Cape of Good Hope. So there's our Dutch colonialism. Move forward in time a little bit, and you get to the First Boer War, because there are 2. The Afrikaans translation of that would be the First Freedom War, and this was fought from December 16th, 1880 to March 23rd, 1881.
That's a very short war. Would we call that a war if it's 4 months?
They do.
All right.
It was fought between the United Kingdom and the Boers of the Transvaal, as the South African Republic was known while under British administration. The war resulted in a Boer victory and eventual independence of the South African Republic. And then you get to the Second Boer War, which was much larger and is actually just referred to as the Boer War because it was the large one and not 4 months, like you pointed out.
Tiny war, big war.
Yep, tiny big. This was fought from October 11th, 1899 to May 31st, 1902. The origins of the war were complex, and they stem from more than a century of conflict between the Boers and Britain. One of the most prominent factors of this happening was the question of who would control and benefit most from the very lucrative Witwatersrand gold mines that were discovered in June of 1884. During this war, the Boers used guerrilla tactics that were quite effective. However, the Brits responded with concentration camps. And over 100,000 Boer civilians, mostly women and children, were forcibly relocated into concentration camps where 26,000 died, mostly by starvation and disease.
This is terrible. Why was this not taught?
Now remember, these are the white individuals of the Boers being put into concentration camps as far as that 26,000. What doesn't go spoken about, though, is the Black Africans were interned as well in these concentration camps to prevent them from supplying the Boers, and over 20,000 of them died as well. So the treaty ended the existence of 2 states there, the Transvaal and Orange Free States, which until that point were independent Boer republics, and instead they were placed within the British Empire, and it would all become the Union of South Africa in 1910. So there's a lot behind the Boer War.
That is wild. Well, I didn't know any of that. Thank you for teaching us that, Sky.
Valerie didn't know anything either because she is panicking about a test now.
That's so crazy. I will take a moment to digest all of that. Terrible, terrible history. Jack joins the other boys working on the car and gives a last name of Spratski.
Which Jack Sprat is the classic English nursery rhyme and a well-known proverb. The rhyme tells the story of a man named Jack Sprat who couldn't eat fat and his wife couldn't eat lean, yet they managed to lick the platter clean by dividing the food between them. And the rhyme highlights the idea of people with different dietary preferences complementing each other, was also interpreted as a political satire or commentary on societal differences.
I just remember I had a computer game as a little girl called Mixed Up Mother Goose, and you had to like travel around Mother Goose Land and like find the missing pieces of different fairy tales and give them back to their owners. And one of them was you had to find, I can't remember what you had to find for Jack Sprat, but then it, like once you got the pieces and you gave them to the people, they would do a little like music playing and put the nursery rhyme up on the screen. So it's him and his wife and they're eating whatever's on the plate. And at the end there's a bone, and the bone they like throw it off the table and the cat comes over and gets the bone. And I just remember that.
Sounds like a fun game.
It is a super fun game. You can find it for free now on like those old DOS game sites. The boys all start joking and pushing each other around. Jack offers the idea of checking the alternator again, and this time they say it's a good idea. Hilda is yawning while Zelda tries to tell her a story about a science discussion she had.
The science discussion being on magnetic resonance spectrography, and that is frequently used to complement MRIs by providing information about the concentration of specific chemicals, metabolites, within a defined region of interest. Unlike the MRI, which primarily images water and fat, an MRS can actually detect a wider range of chemicals, offering insight into tissue metabolism and function.
Kraft shows up at the house to ask Hilda out again. Hilda begs Zelda to get rid of him, but she won't since Hilda can't even feign interest in Zelda's life. Hilda decides to drink a boy brew, turning into a biker-looking man, and then goes to scare off Mr. Kraft. And boy, her eyebrows as Sonny the Man were so distracting.
They were.
It works because Mr. Kraft leaves pretty quickly after apologizing.
If I were you, I'd make it like a tailpipe and blow.
Caroline Ray can do no wrong. She's hilarious. Jack is fitting in well with the other guys, except when she accidentally calls Troy Aikman so hot. Luckily, Harvey accidentally helps her cover on that one. They start having a burping contest, and Sabrina zaps herself, causing a burp so loud that it can be heard from outer space. The other boys are all impressed. They all start discussing their plans for the night, and Harvey admits he might be doing something with Valerie. Jack/Sabrina looks sad and uncomfortable about this, while the other boys go, ooh.
Once again, Sabrina, you did this in the first 2 episodes.
She understands and she knows, but I still don't think she's comfortable with it, and she can still be sad about it.
No sadness allowed.
Also, she didn't do it because she wanted to. She did it because her hands made her.
Man up, Sabrina.
Sabrina is complaining to Salem that Harvey wants to date Valerie. Salem points out that they did agree to see other people. He is being you in this one. And then my comment on this, because I was like, oh, it's a callback. I was like, consistency in this economy? Salem tells her she can beat Harvey to the punch by asking out Valerie first as Jack.
He used a preemptive strike to take out Yugoslavia.
I swear I did not hear that line. Sabrina whines that it's unfair that the boy has to do the asking, and Salem says one of the perks of being a cat is that being in heat eliminates the guesswork.
Guess so.
Okay. This goes back to the can Salem get female regular non-matcha cats pregnant? And why is this such a thing that we talk about so often in this show?
2 great questions. I don't know if I want the answers to either of them.
We have an uncomfortable amount of information about Salem's sex life. Sabrina zaps her voice to sound like Jack as she calls Valerie to ask her to go to the Slicery. And Valerie is reading a book called Girl Talk, All the Stuff Your Sister Never Told You. Sabrina is grossed out by the thought of going out with a girl. Valerie then calls Sabrina to celebrate being asked out by Jack. We get a montage of Salem helping Sabrina get ready for her date. And then Jack and Valerie are on their date, where Valerie is just complaining about her lack of dates. Sabrina finds out that Harvey hasn't asked Valerie out yet, she thinks, as Harvey walks in and greets Valerie. Sabrina decides to try and scare him off by asking Harvey to step aside to chat. Jack says that he and Valerie are kind of going out. Harvey seems happy for them and leaves them alone. Jack joins Valerie again, who admits she only brought $5 for dinner. Mr. Kraft returns and Sonny/Hilda confronts him again. Mr. Kraft is surprisingly bold at standing up what appears to be a pretty intimidating man. Sonny starts insulting Hilda and Mr. Kraft stands up for her, eventually turning it into a physical confrontation, where he says, shouldn't you be using your unemployment check to buy Raisin Jack? And I didn't know what Raisin Jack is, but it is also known as prison moonshine. I don't think that's the thing you buy. I think that's the thing you make, isn't it?
Yeah.
Salem enjoys the show as they roll around on the ground. Zelda comes in to break up the fight and is stunned when she recognizes the male version of Hilda. Mr. Kraft gets another jab in about Sunny being a slow-witted endomorph. And apparently an endomorph is a technical term of a body type characterized by a rounder physique, wider hips, and a tendency to gain weight more easily.
Interesting.
The opposite is an ectomorph, characterized by a lean, thin physique with a lower tendency to gain weight or muscle. I don't think they're used as much, but they're definitely still pop up every now and again. Mr. Kraft continues to taunt Sunny, but eventually agrees to leave. The next day at lunch, Sabrina is asking Valerie about her date and offers some subtle advice about how Valerie could do better on dates, but it goes right over Valerie's head.
This is where I chose to note that Sabrina also isn't necessarily being the nicest friend, but especially in the scene prior, her internal monologue just isn't really friendly towards your friend there. Very, very judgmental.
I mean, yeah, but she's also not wrong. And I think the thing that Sabrina could have done as a nice friend has been hey, let's pretend like we're on a date and go over some talking points and maybe help Valerie work on her conversation skills a little bit because it was bad. Valerie was not a good date. Valerie annoyed me so much in that scene that I fully empathize with Sabrina's thoughts. Also, I'm a judgy person, so I have no room to judge others who are judgy. Sabrina leaves to go get some drinks, and Harvey instead joins Valerie at the lunch table. He asks her to the Slicery tonight. She is shocked and excited. Sabrina returns with the drinks after Harvey leaves, and Valerie excitedly tells Sabrina that Harvey asked her out. Sabrina is disappointed and says she thought Valerie was dating Jack. Valerie confidently says she can juggle 2 guys.
You keep believing that.
Okay, Valerie. Sabrina complains to Salem. She feels bad as Sabrina because her boyfriend and her best friend are going out, and she feels bad as Jack for Valerie dumping or cheating on him. Salem's advice is to go to the Slicery as Jack and mark his territory, figuratively. Jack watches through the window as Valerie and Harvey arrive at the Slicery. Libby shows up and tells Jack he has the privilege of escorting her in. He agrees and steps off the crate, disappointing Libby that he's not as tall as she thought he was. Libby asks to go play a video game before the 8th graders get the buttons all sticky. He gives her a quarter and sends her off, then uses a spell on salt shakers to spy on Valerie and Harvey, where Valerie is once again complaining about her lack of a love life.
I didn't see Libby as a gamer, but I like it.
I see her as a woman with some violent tendencies that she needs to get out. And I see the old arcade games as being the absolute acceptable way to do so. Zelda lectures Hilda about turning herself into a man. And again, Zelda's outfit is amazing. I love her outfits in this episode. The doorbell rings and Zelda offers to get rid of Mr. Kraft this time, but Hilda says he's actually growing on her after defending her honor. Hilda invites Mr. Kraft in, but he's here to see Sunny to apologize and to buy him a beer. Hilda offers to go with him instead, but Mr. Kraft insists on going with Sunny. Zelda pipes up that Sunny is actually here. A disgruntled Hilda goes to turn herself into her male version and returns as Sunny to go out with Mr. Kraft. Which the image of the 2 of them riding on Sunny's motorcycle to go get beers is just amazing.
That it is.
Jack is still holding the salt shaker up to his ear while Libby does the same with the pepper, but she can't hear the ocean. Valerie is still just complaining about her dating life, but Harvey interrupts her to ask her something important. But suddenly there's interference. All Sabrina can see is Harvey and Valerie holding hands. Jack runs off to the bathroom and says big boys don't cry to himself in the mirror just before Harvey walks in. And that bathroom is way cleaner and less graffitied than I would have expected given the rest of the Slicery. That place was spotless. Harvey asks Jack if he's crying, but Jack blames it on the disinfectant smell. Harvey admits he was asking Valerie about Sabrina. He misses her. He doesn't want to tell her, though, in case she feels pressure to go back on their decision to slow things down. I know I have problems with Harvey's in this episode, but this line, I was just but he is a good guy. 90s misogyny aside, that is a really nice thing to do. Harvey then notices that Jack's mascara is running, and in another really nice line, Harvey points out that he doesn't have a problem with it, but he's worried about the other guys. Just then, Sabrina's watch beeps. The spell is wearing off. She runs to the empty women's bathroom, and the spell wears off half of her body at first, but then the rest of it wears off.
And as this spell is wearing off, she chooses to block the door with her body instead of going into one of the very accessible stalls to hide.
Her brain is so washed with hormones right now of varying, types that I imagine the critical thinking skills aren't great at that moment. Sabrina exits the bathroom and notices Libby waiting for someone. Jack has been in the bathroom forever. Sabrina tells her she saw Jack leave 10 minutes ago. This line, Sprat split? I listened to Pepper for him. Doesn't he know who I am? That's the best line of this episode. Valerie and Harvey ask Sabrina to join them at their booth. Valerie excuses herself to get food for her dad, and Harvey and Sabrina have a cute little moment discussing gross things like scungili.
Scungili that Valerie's getting for her dad. And scungili is a term used in Italian-American cuisine to refer to the meat of the conch, a type of sea snail, as a mild, sweet, and slightly briny flavor with a tender, chewy texture similar to cooked calamari. Scungili is often used in salads, pasta dishes with scungili marinara, and other seafood preparations.
Would you trust any seafood that came out of the Slicery kitchen?
No.
I am for sure would not trust something like scungili, let alone like a shrimp.
Hopefully Valerie has more than $5 this time, too.
Gosh. In our end tag, Sabrina is wrapping up the lesson she learned from this week. Whatever guys are eating is what they're thinking about. She, Salem, and Hilda go back to watching football when a male Zelda, aka Buzz, joins them. And we get a dude from Sabrina. We also find out that this spell has lingering effects, as did the bowling pin and doll spells.
You know, when I first saw your note here, before the scene actually happened on my TV, I got really excited that we were going to have video game Zelda, and it was going to be Link.
No.
And then I remembered there was an ant named Zelda.
Well, that is our episode. That's one is going to be pretty short, I think. Our next episode is season 2, episode 7, A River of Candy Corn Runs Through It. Sky, what's it about?
Candy corn, rivers, running through things. Someone's gonna get a sugar high, and it's gonna cause chaos. It may or may not be Sabrina. Sabrina could cause a spell that makes Valerie go extra cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, or cuckoo for candy corn. I guess I'll have to wait and see until I watch it.
This one, I think, is my favorite of the Halloween episodes.
Oh yeah, it's Halloween time.
Mm-hmm. It's a really good one. Season 3 is good too, but I think season 2's Halloween is my favorite.
Excited for Halloween in probably July. Who knows? Wait and see.
Who knows what's going to happen? I don't know. All right. Well, everybody, until next time, you can like, share, rate, and subscribe to this podcast wherever you listen to us at. You can email us at somethingwitchypod@gmail.com, and you can follow us on Instagram at somethingwitchypod and TikTok at something.witchy.pod. Until next time,
stay magical.